Hello and welcome to Smart Money, brought to you by Daily Investor, South Africa's largest online investment publication. Well, Neale Hill's had an incredible journey at Ford. After having spent more than 3 decades with the company, in 2021, Neale took the helm as president of Ford Motor Company Africa. He joins us now to talk through his climbing up the ranks and the strategy he's busy executing on that end. Thanks so much, Neale, for joining us today. So I'm going to launch straight into it. 30 years ago, you walked into Ford as an intern. Was becoming the business's president always the target?
Alishia, no, and thank you for the opportunity. No, it wasn't. I think I joined as a young grad trainee at Ford Motor Company 33 years ago. It was 1st of February 1991, and at that stage, I think like everybody you're a little bit of a confused individual in terms of, where exactly your life is going to go. I think stepping into it, I had a passion for cars. I had a passion for the Ford brand at that stage. Growing up through my whole life, I, followed what was happening in the motor industry. I love cars, and Ford was a brand that I actually loved. So I got to a very lucky position that I actually ended up in a situation that my job became my hobby and my hobby became my job. And then it was a case of trying to actually understand what exactly the motor industry was all about. I think the one thing about myself is I've always had an inquiring mind. My mother will always tell you that, if I got something as a birthday gift, the first 10 minutes after getting it, I had already disassembled it and then trying to work out how to put it back together again because I wanted to know how things work. And I suppose that's been my journey over the last 30 years in terms of wanting to understand the automotive industry.
Okay, so that getting you to where you are right now. Flash forward to the now, Neale. Dare I ask, what does a day in the life of Neale Hill look like?
Normally, I'm up pretty early in the morning, 6 o'clock, getting ready to come through to the office. As part of my preparation, I'm always making a cup of coffee. That I've got a cup of coffee in the car in a travel flask. I do run on caffeine. I enjoy my coffee. And then I like to always have a little bit of time that I can actually just make sure that I've got planning time to be able to see what's coming in, clear out emails that came in overnight, to make sure that, I'm focused on the day that lies ahead for me. Spend a lot of time in meetings. The key element there is really about the opportunity to interact with team members, talk about the business, help them, provide guidance. And I really take the role as a leader who teaches very seriously. So my gift is to give back to people. And then variably here through until about 6 o'clock in the evening, make my way home. And then it's really about having some downtime where my wife and I just get to spend some time to reflect on what's our days have been about, and really make sure that I've got some downtime. And I do generally try to avoid getting too heavy into emails in the evening. Normally, you're going to find that the laptop, the iPad are closed and shut down by about 8 o'clock. And then it's really about just giving myself time to reflect on what's past, contemplate life in general, but also just to give a little bit of me time, which is important.
Yeah. What would you say, Neale, the secret to your success is?
Um, I think it's really about being able to manage, the stress that is related with running a company, with being involved in business, and being able to have enough time to really contemplate what's happening and be able to think. I think the think time is really the important element of it, and it's understanding what's in your sphere of control, what's not in your sphere of control. Really good stakeholder engagement is absolutely crucial. And in that in particular, it's about who needs to know about the information that's come to hand and how do you share that with people? How do you go to people to ask them for advice, and continue to really be a good communicator? And I think the key art of communication is, one's got to listen before one actually communicates and understand what others are saying, how you actually communicate the message across. So a lot of work needs to go into that particular aspect of it in terms of making sure the message that we're delivering is properly heard, properly received, and most definitely properly understood.
Look, having served at every level of the same company brings with it a unique perspective on leadership as well, Neil. So, what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way that translate now to how you embrace your current leadership role, and how does that influence your leadership style?
So first and foremost, leadership is a journey. It's not a destination. I don't think you're ever going to be in a position that you're going to turn around and say that you've mastered the art of leadership, because I think every single day you are learning. There are unique experiences and circumstances that continue to teach you. I think also something that I hold very true as a philosophy for myself is never ever ask people to do things that you're not prepared to do yourself. Um, and then most importantly, leadership is something that you work at in terms of commanding respect, or earning respect, I should say, never commanding respect. I mean, that is to me absolutely crucial, is that it's something that we do as a joint exercise, that we work together, and that we really look to serve the people that are around us, and to make the world a better place, and to leave a legacy for those who are going to come after me.
Absolutely. And, it's traits like that that must come in handy, Neil, when you're running an American company. Yes, it has a presence, extending since 1923. But what are some of the biggest challenges you come up against running a company like Ford in Africa?
I chuckle because I think one of the things that everybody in the company just kind of shakes their head at is we have this propensity to provide surprises that nobody has ever expected. And that really makes Africa unique, and South Africa unique, in terms of some of the challenges that we're encountering. And people kind of just shake their heads in disbelief and go, okay, so how are you going to get your way through this one? And we go, well, we're going to figure it out, but we will come up with a creative South African solution. And it comes back to, giving people the confidence that we're in charge of the business, that we know what we're doing and we know what will work in a South African context. And I think that's where we are very fortunate, is that we have a company that is exceptionally understanding of, the need to be a global organization, but that we operate locally. And, that gives us this incredible blend, is that we've got the amazing support of Ford Motor Company's global might, but at the same time, they trust the local operation and the local management to do what's right in the circumstances that we're dealing with.
As the saying goes, Neil, Africa is not for sissies, right? So what sets Ford apart from other car brands available in South Africa? Because you've got to admit, competition's intensified in a market where cost of production is increasing while consumer purse strings are being pulled tighter. So what's your competitive advantage?
The things that we've really focused on, and I think it is an absolute hallmark of Ford Motor Company, certainly in my 30 odd years of experiences, first and foremost, is that we're a people company. People are at the center of what we do and how we act and behave. And that starts off with, in terms of the feeling of, of belonging that we have at Ford Motor Company. And I've been fortunate enough to work in 4 other countries around the world. And the one thing I always say is that when you walk into Ford as a Ford employee, you feel welcome and you feel part of the family immediately. So it's that belonging, it's that strong sense of, camaraderie that we have across the globe. The other thing that I think really makes a big difference is that we genuinely care about people, not only the employees who work for us, but also the people in the communities around us. And that's been something that, as a company, we've got a very strong ethos of giving back to the communities that we do business in, that our employees come from, that our suppliers operate in. And it's really about how we can make this a better world for everybody, because it's one thing to really focus on, the bottom line of the returns and how we run the business, but you miss out on a key element, which is actually working with the people, and making sure that people actually believe that we're a brand that is authentic, that is grounded, and, that cares about the communities. So we really do a lot in that particular space.
But also a company that's awake to current realities. And that, Neil, throws the spotlight then on agility to adapt to the context of operation, right? That matters significantly. So if we look at the next electric vehicles, a big topic in the automotive industry, but so is the reality of availability and cost of energy in South Africa and, affordability parameters as well. So how's context impacting Ford's plans when it comes to something like EVs in South Africa?
I think that this is where the beauty of our global scale and our global footprint gives us the benefit in terms of understanding the way that we can navigate this particular period of disruption that we're going to experience. I've been very clear with the team here in terms of saying to everybody, please understand that the next decade is going to see more change in the automotive industry than in the past 100 years. How we embrace that change and how we tap into the lessons learned in other parts of the world, in the Ford world, are going to help us navigate that space. Part of it is about understanding that we're going to live in a paradigm where we're going to have different propulsion technologies available at the same time. So Africa is going to be a continent and a market that's going to live in the ICE world as well as living in the battery electric world. And it's how we blend that model and how we pivot from one to the other at the right time that's going to continue to make sure that we succeed as a company and that we keep meeting our customers' requirements and expectations.
Yeah.
So that is going to be an absolutely crucial thing, is that we understand the challenges of our consumers as the starting point and then solve their needs going forward, as opposed to what's right for the company in terms of what fits our portfolio or our agenda. So it's really been very consumer centric in that approach.
Okay, so that part of Ford's plans, part of Ford's strategy, what are your big ambitions over the next few years, for yourself professionally, but personally as well?
Starting off professionally, I think we've just done an amazing upgrade to our facilities here at, the manufacturing facilities here in Silverton. And, for me, it's about leaving a legacy for the generations that are going to come post us. We've got very deep roots in South Africa. You mentioned, we've been operating in South Africa since 1923. Very proud to be, celebrating our centenary this year. But we look at this as the basis that the first 100 years is just our training wheels. And, we're only getting going and we're looking ahead for the future. And, we coined the phrase, we've only just begun. So it's about leaving a legacy for people who are going to continue to come to work at Ford Motor Company in South Africa, that we're going to continue to build cars and export them across the globe. And, that we've trained up and prepped people to be the leaders of the future for a company that's going to participate fully in the South African economy. Yeah. Personally, I've still got a good couple of years left in me to work. So I'm really looking about how I can continue to pass on the skills and the knowledge that I have. And make sure that the investment that the company has put in me is paid forward to those coming after me. After that, I think you're going to find me with my camera and my binoculars, around my neck and doing a lot of things that I do find time for during the year, but certainly is going to give me an opportunity to step away from the business world for a period of time. But I don't think I will be away for too long. I'm always a person who likes to be busy. So I will certainly explore my personal hobbies for a period of time, but I'm sure I'll be back in some form. And one of the things that's really close to my heart and something that I have a grave concern about is, just the levels of literacy in South Africa. And if I can play a role in terms of raising awareness around that, helping to put programs in place and to really grow elements that can improve the literacy in South Africa, that's certainly a passion of mine as well.
Well, Neale, let's leave it there. Thanks so much for having joined us today. And looking forward to the journey ahead.
Thank you so much.